Have you ever wondered why there's so many musicians out there that seem to be getting attention, success, and notoriety, but you're over here like, dude, my music is way better than yours? You start thinking things like, I actually commit to the craft. I actually am trying to level up my artistry and push the genre forward, where you're just over here recycling the same old stuff and you're getting more traction and success than I am. What the heck, right? They're just good marketers. That's what we say to each other as musicians. We say, well, they're not really good musicians. They're just really good at marketing, right? Now, what if this understanding about artistry and marketing is actually what's causing us a lot of grief? What if it's causing us more grief than good? Well, we need to change that. And so in today's video, I'm going to be sharing with you the real truth about artistry and marketing, which one pulls more weight, and how you can look at this to actually start getting more results in your music business without compromising your artistry. So the first thing that we really need to understand is that artistry is subjective. I know a lot of people know this, but they don't act it out. Think about it. When we say things like, well, music is subjective, we're like, yeah, that makes sense. But then, when people don't like our music, we like to go, how could you like this band? They're objectively worse than me. And we start speaking in absolute terms. Well, here's something we need to understand. Is high-level artistry the same in some random indigenous tribe across the world as it is in, let's say, the western part of the world? No. There's going to be different measurements of what's considered high art if you found some seclosed tribe versus modern Western society. So what that should tell you is that artistry is largely socially constructed, which means it's subjective, okay? So if it's subjective, what is considered artistry? One man's high art might be another man's lowbrow, right? We sit there and we judge other people's preferences and say that my art is objectively higher in artistry than yours. But we have this misunderstanding that if I'm good at marketing, that means I had to compromise my artistry. And that's not true. You don't have to compromise your artistry to be good at marketing. Your marketing packages your artistry in a way that's most palatable. Now, when people say most palatable, you mean appeal to the lowest common denominator? First little tangent. We need to stop calling people, human beings, lowest common denominator because they don't listen to our preferred subjective preference of music. That's just a rotten thing to do, where we look at someone and we're like, hey, I love you because you love my music. And as soon as they're like, well, actually, I don't love your music. I actually prefer this genre of music. We're like, I objectively hate you now. We can't have this sort of conditional, love for our potential fans and talk down to them. Like, if you don't like me, that's because you're one of the lowest common denominator. So we can't do that, first of all. So changing your marketing so that it is easily received by the people who you are trying to get it to does not mean you have to diminish your artistry. It means you need to take this artistry that's developed and package it in a certain way that makes it easier to receive. That's all it really is. But we get so scared of marketing and we get this conflation in our head that a broke artist is a genuine artist. And that's not the truth. Just because you're broke and you don't know how to get people to pay attention to your music doesn't mean you're more of a genuine artist than someone who's figured out the marketing to get people to like their music. Now, this is where I'm really going to upset some people because they really don't understand what I'm talking about until I really flesh it out, which is that marketing success, people come to me and they say, well, oh yeah, Dax, well, just because someone's successful at the marketing doesn't mean they have good artistry. And here's what I would say to you. That's actually wrong. What? Are you trying to say that just because something is successful from a marketing perspective, that means it's good at artistry and it has high artistry? Yeah, that's what I'm going to say to you. And you can disagree in the comments if you'd like, but here's why that's the correct way of looking at things. Here's why. Marketing success is not determined by mere attention. It's attention plus action, okay? So if I get a video in front of you and you view it, I got your attention, but you don't do anything, I have failed my marketing objective. So that's unsuccessful marketing, is just getting it in front of somebody and they don't really do anything, they don't really care, and then they just move on. That's unsuccessful. Successful marketing is I get my stuff in front of you and then you take an action. Now think about this for a second. If something is good enough for a fan listening to it to want to take action on it, it is a marketing success. But let's look at what artistry is. Since artistry is subjective to the individual, if someone has found that music of high enough quality that they are willing to take action to listen to it, it has proven its artistry through the fact that people are willing to click on it. Because even if something gets your attention, doesn't mean it's going to get your action. And good music is the only thing that really garners the action. People will only, in a short term, check out something that is all flash, all sizzle, no steak. Okay? But most of y'all have a steak with no sizzle. So you understand, we've got to figure out, okay, how do I get the marketing to not only get people to see me, but to want to take action? So if someone was willing to take action, the artistry is good enough for that individual that they are willing to take action on it. So here's another thing too. People say, I still don't like the idea that marketing success equals good artistry. Well, here's why most people don't understand why that's, the idea is that marketing success is the same thing as good artistry. Why? Because in this day and age, your music is your marketing. I want you to think about that. Marketing serves a purpose in a business. What is that purpose? People say, attention. No. Attention plus action. How does attention plus action work? When you create a bond. So marketing is what is put out by a business into the marketplace to create a bond with its prospects, with its fans. That's the purpose of marketing. So in the case of a musician, what do we put out to the marketplace to get them to connect with us? Our music. Our music is available for free everywhere. Kind of sounds like marketing. You know what I'm saying? Typically, our product is not something that we give away for free on Spotify, on YouTube, and everyone in the world, right? So music isn't your product anymore. It can be a product. It can be a thing that's sold, right? But music's prime function in your business is as marketing to attract people, build a bond, and get them to take action. That's the purpose of marketing. So if your marketing, i.e. your music, is good enough to get someone to take action to listen to it, it has sufficient level artistry. And some people just don't want to make peace with that. They want to, fight the idea that, my art is objectively better than some others. And if people don't like it, it's because they're objectively wrong. We can't do that. We need to understand that your music is your marketing. And so if your music and your artistry is good enough and you present it in a way that is good enough where it's easily received, you've got a winning combination. So for a lot of you, you're sitting on a gold mine, you're just scared to market it because you're afraid that the marketing will be the thing that gets you success as opposed to the music, because you have this idea in your head that, no, I need to be successful because of this recognition of my music, and I don't want to be successful from the recognition of my marketing. And while that's a decent perspective to have, if you don't understand that your music is your marketing, then you do want to be understood and you do want to be known by your marketing because your marketing is your music. So you do want to be known by your marketing. A lot of false beliefs exist in our music business right now, and these are the ones that we need to blow up and get rid of forever, is understanding that you can market your music in a way that retains its artistic integrity, but also packages it in a way to make it most receptive to the ideal fan you're trying to attract. Because sometimes you've got broccoli and you're wrapping it in broccoli. You need to wrap the broccoli in some chocolate so people actually want to take a bite of the broccoli. You've got something that's good for them. You've got good art that no, it doesn't hurt. It nourishes the soul, right? You've got some good art. That's the broccoli, right? But nobody likes eating broccoli. Nobody. Even I like broccoli, and even I still have a hard time eating it when it's on my plate, and I like it. So what do we have to do as marketing musicians? We need to put the broccoli and wrap it in some chocolate. right? Everyone wants to look and eat chocolate. So you get the idea. The marketing, the packaging is the chocolate. The artistry is the broccoli. So most of y'all have got a good product, a healthy product that will help people, but they don't want to eat it because it looks like broccoli on the outside. Okay? So what you need to do is figure out the marketing game. How do I wrap it in some chocolate and make it a little bit more tantalizing so when they take a bite, they're like, oh my God, this is amazing. This is so good for me. I love this stuff, right? That's the idea. That's what the marketing is supposed to do. Now, how do we do this? How do we better our marketing? We have to get better at creating frames. A frame is the context to which a viewer will consume your marketing, okay? So I like to use basic examples so everyone can understand and apply it to their nuanced situation. So if I am trying to put a frame around something, actually, I'm going to tell a quick story. Some of you recurring subscribers have heard this story before, but for the new people that are watching, you're going to love this story because it's going to share with you the power of marketing. So if you've heard this, enjoy the rerun. So what happened was I had a family friend who had heard a song on the radio by Gwen Stefani called Purple Irises. She did not like it. She heard it and went, meh. So she heard it. She heard the broccoli. No, nothing to code it. She just got the broccoli and she was like, it's broccoli. You know, and then she got home and turned on like Hollywood News or whatever, and then saw the story of how Gwen Stefani is like, oh, I saw these purple irises and I dug them up and I threw them in the back of our four-wheeler, and then I got back to the house and tried to plant them in the ground, and at first they kind of wilted and I thought that they were just going to die, but I kept watering and watering and believing and watering and believing, and then what happened is they finally started to bloom. And then I thought, wow, that's like a perfect metaphor for my relationship with Blake Shelton. Is at first, you know, at some points when it was tough, it felt like it was wilting, but if you just keep pouring water into it and you keep nourishing the relationship, then it starts to bloom just like the purple irises did. So you can see now that there's a bit of a frame to it. There's some chocolate around the broccoli here. Well, what did my friend do? She goes, oh my gosh, I love that. And then she listened to the song again with a new frame. And now she loves the song. Think of the power of what I just said. Okay, I'm going to clap all my syllables from the rest of the video. No, I'm just kidding. Think of what that means. She heard the music. She knows what it sounds like. There's no more surprises. She knows what it sounds like. Because when you're driving home and you're listening to it on the radio, you know, unless you're changing the channel, you're probably going to hear the whole thing, right? So she heard the whole thing and she's like, okay, yeah, it's okay, whatever. But then she got a different frame around it. And it changed her opinion on a song she had already heard. So, if you think, Dax, I've already marketed myself, you know, that song's done because I marketed it badly, so no one's going to like it anymore. That's not correct. Change your marketing on old songs, your back catalog that didn't do very well. Try to really push out the marketing for that. Change the wrapping of those, and you'd be surprised how well it can do when it has the right frame around it. Okay, so you have to figure out what is the context that makes my story the most impactful. Like I could tell another story of like, yeah, at the end of high school, I went through a breakup and it was really tough. And then I found my wife and it was really cool. You know, like I could tell a story that way. That's one frame. Or another frame could be like, you know, I never really had many girlfriends growing up. And so when I found that one girlfriend in high school, I thought, you know, I was dating to marry type thing. So I thought I had found the girl, and things were good for about 6 or 7 months, but then things started to change for the darker, and things started getting worse, and it started getting like mentally abusive and verbally abusive. And then at some point, you know, it just reached a critical mass where I couldn't be in that relationship anymore. And so I had to quit. And so this song is about that breakup and that freedom that I felt once I finally was able to break out of this relationship that I thought that I had to be in, and then I thought I would never find another relationship because this is all that I was able to get, and so this is my destiny. And then I was able to overcome that and get out the other side, and then I eventually found my wife, and now I have a beautiful son. And you see how that story is a better frame around this quote-unquote song around a breakup than, yeah, I went through a breakup one time and it really sucked, and so the song's about the breakup. Okay. But another one is like, I was feeling all these feelings of doubt. I was feeling all this, all these emotions, all these things that people can relate to, by the way. And then I talked about how the song was sort of the triumph that came out of the trial of going through that relationship. So in one context, the frame is like, oh, this thing happened to a person. In the other context, there's emotion, there's imagery, there's like getting you invested in the story. So a lot of us could do well in our music business to start thinking about not how do I have the highest quality video, how do I have the highest quality microphone, how do I have the lighting to be absolutely pristine and perfect. We need to be thinking about what is the frame that if somebody consumes my song in that frame, well, now they're actually going to really like it. Like, for example, let's say the frame is let's say the frame that would create the most magnetic attraction is someone who went through a breakup and they're a wrestling fan. I don't know why that would be the perfect thing, but let's just assume for this example that that's what they need to hear, is that someone's been through a breakup and you're a wrestling fan. Okay, so roll with me on that, okay? So what content piece is going to perform better? The one that says, yeah, you know, I went through a breakup, and then so here's the song that just kind of came out of the ashes of that breakup. Versus, I was watching WWE the other night, and then my girl looks over to me and says, we're done, right? And so she left, and I was heartbroken, but the thing that I had to turn to was WWE, you know, and so I could watch my wrestling and kind of escape for a little bit. Do you see how the person that needs to hear it a certain way is going to be more attracted to that second message than the first message? Because in that second message, you're talking to what they needed to hear already, right? Now, that's just a fun, random example, but reverse engineer that. Think about, okay, what frame of reference would make my story maximally impactful? And then how do I create a piece of content that reverse engineers that most impactful frame so that I can use that as a hook for my video? You see what I'm saying? You need to find that moment. Like, okay, what's my song about? Okay, it's about this story. What's the frame that would make this story relatable? It would hook them immediately. Like, what's the thing they need to hear so that that story is most easily conveyed to them? That's how you start to think about the storytelling around your marketing, the packaging, the chocolate around the broccoli, so to speak. But if you just go out there and you post your artistry and you expect that to do the marketing for you, I'm going to say that you're going to be severely disappointed. It takes a certain type of, even like what prog rock people think of as high art and the avant-garde think of as high art are completely different things, right? So how you appeal to each of those different audiences is based totally in the context to which you present it and the frame that you present to them so that they're like, oh, that's a context in a scenario that I can relate to. Oh yeah, oh, that all makes sense. And then the song's emotions and the emotion of the frame you've set are kind of matched one-to-one, okay? We call that message to market match. And so that's a way to help increase your marketing skills. And that's what's gonna help people ultimately get to know you better. The sad fact of the world is, when it comes down to business, the most known tends to beat the best product, right? McDonald's is not the greatest burger joint, but they are the biggest burger joint in the world because they're the most known, okay? JP Morgan Chase is not the best bank in the world, but they're one of the biggest banks in the world because they're the most known bank in the world. So it's not always about the product itself in a vacuum. It's about the product plus marketing that can actually connect with people. So don't get upset that certain people have figured out the frame of which people need to consume their music to get them to like it. Just start saying, now I've got to figure it out for me. I need to figure out that frame that gets people to most naturally and easily be receptible to my music, just like these people did. Because while I may look at their music and say, I have higher artistry, I'm a better musician than you, they have proven that they have enough artistry to convert fans. So why not you? You just got to figure the marketing out, okay? And the marketing is something that, by the way, like I mentioned multiple times in this video, but I will say it again. Marketing does not mean you compromise your artistic integrity. It just means you figure out the easiest way that the ideal person that you're trying to attract can most easily receive your message with little to no resistance, okay? So if you've got some value from this video, hit the subscribe button, the like button, all that kind of good YouTube-y stuff. Also, if you'd like some one-on-one help creating these content headlines, creating the systems of content that get people attracted into your world that are good fits and understand how to create good frames, I've got a link that you can click in the description to apply for a free one-on-one call to see if we could help you in your music business. So if that's something you're interested in doing, go ahead and click the link now in the description. Otherwise, I look forward to seeing you on another video inside of Musicians Ignite. Take care.